Thank you very much, Anna. I'll just get to sharing my screen and get started here. Do you all see my screen? Just to be sure. Great.
Yes.
So everyone, good morning. It's really nice to see you. I'm really happy that Anna invited us in to share our knowledge and experience on circular economy and our circular business model toolkit. Okay, so I'll just start by giving you an introduction of what we're going to be going through today, and then you'll learn more about our approach and our experience with design and circular economy. But just to get everyone started, so we are two ladies today guiding you through our toolkit. It's going to be me, Julie Hjort. I'm a program director at the Danish Design Center, and I lead all our work on circular economy and sustainability. And I have Teresa, a junior designer, who's one of our most experienced in applying the toolkit. And I have Emilia on the side, and she's doing the, mastering everything on Zoom, taking care of the chat and breakout rooms and everything. So we're a team of 3 today, and really, really happy to be here. Okay, so let me just start giving you an idea of the agenda for today. So it's going to be quite active for you guys. So I hope you're all set for that. First, of course, an introduction and a welcome that we are already starting on, and then a bit of background and our thoughts on why we use design and as approach to drive the circular transition. Because we didn't know you guys beforehand, we didn't know exactly what companies you were in, what challenges you had, what was on your mind, and we wanted to get, to have something in common to talk about. We prepared a fictive case for you today. So we're going to meet Amber Furniture, a fictive company, and that will be our sort of point of departure for when we talk about how you can apply, how you can transform a bit more circular economy. Then we'll have a break, and we'll be sure to have breaks to give just time to absorb all this. And then we'll work with 3 tools, part of our circular economy toolkit. The first one is called Circular Strategies Wheel. That is really about understanding what are the circular strategies for a company. How do you look at a company's products or services throughout a product's life cycle. Then we have a break, and then we have another tool called How Might We, which is about really understanding the challenge, defining the problem in another way. And then we have the brainstorm Sudoku, and this is something that you probably don't know of, but we'll make sure to give you an in-depth understanding of what we mean and what we're talking about. So I think today's goal really is, for us at least, and I hope also for you, that we share our work and our tools in a way that inspires you and mobilizes you to work with it at home. We have 3 hours. We could use 3 days. We could use 3 weeks. But so it's going to be compressed. It's going to be quite fast tempo. So maybe you get a little bit frustrating saying, I could spend more time just digging into these areas, and really everything is available for you to do that afterwards. But I think we really, focused on getting through many things, many tools in order to get them under your skin, so to say. And it will, of course, be superficial. We were working with a fictive case. So this is more for didactic purposes, that you understand this is something you can definitely translate to your own company. And that's the whole purpose of it, to have you ready to translate this to your own context after. I hope you can bear with the ringing bell sounds. It's just people entering the room, and everyone welcome who's joining. So some house rules on Zoom. Please just keep your camera on at all times. It's really nice to see faces when we talk together and work together. For these plenary sessions where I or my colleague Teresa will be talking, then mute your mic. If you want to ask a question, and please don't hold back, then use the chat. And Emily here will be watching the chat and make sure that everyone will be heard and seen. So we're going to be working in what we call a Miro board. I don't know if that is something you've heard of before, but it's kind of a virtual canvas that we'll be working on, because it's going to be tricky sharing Post-its with you as we're spread out to different countries. So we're going to be working with virtual Post-its on a virtual canvas, and we're going to guide you through it. It's not hard, but we'll just have to introduce you to this tool. You'll be working both individually, trying to absorb some of these ideas and thoughts that we're sharing with you, and you'll be working in groups throughout most of this workshop session. Great. Let me see if there are any questions or anything I should know here. Otherwise, I think we'll jump to the next part. And that's me again, just giving you a little bit of background and thought on why design and circular economy. And again, since I do not know all of you so well, and maybe some of you are a little bit of experts in circular economy, some of you are not, I've just decided to share the basics, and that might be repetition for some, but I think it's really important that we have a shared understanding of what do we mean when we talk circular economy. I've worked with circular economy for many years, and to many, it's still, also people working with it, it's still a complex and big theme. So that'll just be the first before we start working more actively. Great. So this is hopefully not news to you, but we're not only just running out of resources, our resources are exhausted on the planet that we live. So we know that in 2050, we need 8.5 planets to absorb the amount of CO2 that is produced. And we actually need 3.5 planets to meet our current levels. Of cement, wood, and steel consumption. So we are in a climate crisis, but we are also in a resource and material crisis where we have and only 88.6% of the materials that we use are returned to the economy. And that's a staggering low amount. We are only recycling and reusing 8.6 of our materials. But if you look at it in the other way, it's also a potential resource that we have so many unaccessed resources when we talk about what becomes waste and all the materials that we're not reusing. So it shows us as companies that there's a huge potential for the circular economy. Our existing make waste process is really what is challenging us. So right now, today, well, at least many places, the dominating model is to extract materials, raw materials, produce materials, sell products, and incinerate them. And this is a whole idea that we want to challenge with the circular economy, to actually develop circular solutions where we keep materials, we keep everything in the loop. When we work with the circular economy, we use these 3 principles that are defined by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And one is to design out waste and pollution of the product. So I know when a lot of people talk about how you handle waste and sort trash, but really circular solutions is you look at a product and you look at a service and you design out waste. So how do you make sure that your products can for instance, be used longer? But that's the next one. So keeping products and materials in use is really about using the materials we have as long as possible. And the last one is about regenerating natural systems. So actually mimicking and inspired by how nature works, taking materials from nature. And there are many ways to work with circular principles and circular solutions. You can work with circular economy when you do products, but you can also work with circular economy when you do services, and also when you design buildings and landscapes. And we'll get more into that when we dive into our tools. So I don't know how it is in Slovenia, but here in Denmark, we have a very strong goals to reduce CO2 emissions by 70% in 2030. But we know that if we really have to get to a net zero, if we have to reduce emissions, it's not just enough to be energy efficient. It's not just enough to think about new energy sources, but the 45% of climate reductions come from the circular economy in the way of changing production, behavior, and consumption. So we can't reduce CO2 in the level that we want without transitioning to a circular economy. So at the Danish Design Center, we believe that this transition to a circular economy is one of the biggest creative challenges of our time. So it's not just about rethinking materials, but it's also about rethinking how we relate to products and how we work and collaborate. And I think this is what drives maybe most of our work with me and my colleagues here at the Danish Design Center. And we work with design, of course, at the Danish Design Center, and this number is kind of what gets me out of bed every day. It's that 80% of a product's environmental impact is determined in the design phase. So when you design products, when you build a new solutions you're going to put into your market, you take these very, very important decisions about material choice, about how a product is also disassembled, how it can be put together and reused. You think about how long it's going to be out on the market. You think about the business models. Is it going to be a leasing model? Is it going to be, how are you going to make sure that the product is going to be repaired or cared for? How are you going to make sure that the product materials are going to be reused? So this is, as soon as a product is on the market, a lot of decisions have been made that are really, really hard to undo. So we really need to be serious about the potential of this design phase in how we think products, how we develop products and solutions. And I don't know how much you know what I mean when I say design. At the Danish Design Center, we work with design, product design that you probably know of, but we work with design as a way of thinking, a way of working, a way of creating new products and new solutions. And I think you can say that basically 4 things that really define how we think about design. So the first thing is to be very challenging when you're developing new solutions. Always ask why. When you're trying to build a new service or solutions, try to understand what is really the problem, what are the opportunities. We always spend a bit extra time in this problem phase, making sure that it's actually the right problem that we're trying to solve. It's human. It always starts with citizens, communities. It starts with understanding the drivers, how people behave, what people want. Some people are very clear about what they want. Sometimes you really have to understand and have empathy with the needs of users. And that's why designers always work hard to understand users really in depth. It's experimental. Instead of making long-term plans and really, long-term development processes, we always test and iterate and try things out with small experiments. And you always use these prototypes as a way of understanding, does this product or this idea, is it really answering a need? And that's back to being human. So if you want to develop a new solution, quickly try to develop a model for it, or a cheap version for it that you can test with users and see, do they actually need this? Do they actually want them? Is it actually answering a human need? And that's what prototypes are really, really important about. And then be concrete. So make the future, the new products very tangible, make them visualize it to enable dialogue and collaboration, because it's so much easier to relate to something when we can see it and touch it than if it's on a long spreadsheet. So these are sort of the 4 drivers behind design. And we use design for so many things. We can use design to do graphic design, product design, service design, but also design strategies, design systems. We're even designing organizations here at the Danish Design Center and designing societal missions. So design is pretty much everywhere. Okay, so what we do at the Danish Design Center is we try to ask ourselves, what if we designed an irresistible circular society where circularity is a clear-cut choice, both in business models and in consumers? So we really want to change the way we walk into a sustainable society. We really want to make sustainability something that people want. So that's why we have to think about, when we develop product and new solutions, it has to be easier, it has to be more fun, it has to be really intriguing for a customer to buy, purchase, or relate to circular or sustainable solutions. So our mission here at the Danish Design Center is to design the irresistible circular society. And that's what we work with. But that's not so much what we're going to be. Well, it's part of what we'll be building today. We work just briefly. We have 4 focus areas, and I'll just mention them briefly. But we're only going to be double clicking on the first one today, and that's business model. So we work with business models here at the Design Center, trying to make building the business models very concrete for companies and organizations. You'll try that very soon. You'll understand. We work with value chains because we know it's really hard for a company to be circular in a linear industry or value chain, right? So the tricky part is when you start looking into your circular business model, you see that you can't control everything. You maybe not have control of where your product is sourced. You may not have control of how your product is taken back. So you have to create collaborations with your value chain, with the supply chain, to find these new solutions. And that's tricky. It's hard, and that's something that we work very much to facilitate at the Danish Design Center. We work extensively with cities as a driver for change, also in our collaboration with you, CR, and in our European Bauhaus project. So really seeing that cities are these wonderful concentrations of public and private solutions, and cities can really be a driver for circular change. And then we work with that hard, unexplainable human factor, right? So you can make products that have the right materials, and you can make solutions that are technically sound, but if people don't want them, people don't want to change their choices in their everyday life, they're not worth anything. So we need to constantly balance technological solutions with human needs, and that's a really important driver for us at the Danish Design Center. So that's what we work with, and I'm happy to tell more. Just reach out after the session if you're curious about some of these things. But we'll be zooming in on this one. How do we transition to a circular economy? How do we actually take these steps? And this is just an example. We run several business model workshops with companies here at the Danish Design Center, and we had Kral, a Danish company. They develop wine cooling systems, and throughout a 6 months collaboration, they redesigned one of these wine coolers they produce so it can be completely disassembled. They've introduced this take back system, so the product when it's is no longer used for the customer can be taken back and reused and recycled. And they've created these systems to recycle the parts correctly. So they've really shown actually that they can make a fully circular product through a collaboration with us and by using these tools. And what's interesting is we often find, and that's going back to what I said earlier when we worked with design, where we challenge what is really the problem. And Kral, they came to us, and initially we were going to look at the materials, but made more sense to be more holistic about it and focus on things like value proposition for our customers. So we'll also find that when we talk about circular solutions, it's not just about doing one circular product or material. It's about looking holistically at your whole company, thinking about how is my company set for circular transition, where do I create more value than others, where's my position, and to think more holistically about what can be put into place in materials, in service models, in relation to customers, in communication throughout the organization. Yes, so that's what we usually always end up starting somewhere and ending somewhere else. So we created this circular toolkit with 8 tools on them, and it's all available on the website, and they're all, and it's quite easy to interact with. And it's basically about taking a company through the whole journey, from developing from just setting a circular strategy to finding relevant problems to solve, to solving problems, testing them with users, and to integrating them in the business. And that's just very like from the start to the end. You can maybe for a company, depending on where you are, you could maybe want to swoop in on 1 or 2 of the tools, but they're all there and all available. Yeah, I always said that 8 tools, but this is just to give you an overview of what they are, and we will only be focusing on the first 3 today. So just to give you an idea of how far you can get. So a circular strategies wheel is where we zoom out, look at our business and think about where are the circular strategies for my organization. We find that it's sometimes, I don't know how you feel about this, but it can be quite overwhelming, this transition. Where do I start? There are so many ways to go. Is it materials? Is it business models? Is it production process? And by mapping out your company, you can really get a clear idea of both things to do immediately and things to do more long term. And then we scope this, how might we question it? It's about really challenging and understanding what is really the problem and how can we find solutions. I won't go too much into depth because it'll be explained soon. Then we have a brainstorm Sudoku. It's about developing ideas and also trying to develop new ideas in new ways, surprising ideas, challenging, just existing ideas. Circular storyboards is about understanding how a product or solution creates value for the user. So it's really about imagining the product in interacting with the user and seeing all these different phases of how a user uses the product or service or what it is. Ecosystem mapping is when we zoom out on the value chain and supply chain and look at, okay, who is in my ecosystem? What are their needs? What are their drivers? And if I want to create new collaborations, what's going to drive that change? It's easier if you are a big corporate. You can actually set quite high criteria for people for companies in your for suppliers. You can set demands for documentation of CO2 or whatever. That's really hard if you're a smaller company, right? You can't set the same demands. So how do you position yourself in the ecosystem? And to do that, you need to figure out what's driving all the other stakeholders in the ecosystem. So that's a way to map that out. The value creating system is about to say, okay, how do I create value within this supply chain, and where do I get value from others, which is a way to build new business models and new, more sustainable partnerships. The expanded circular storyboard is basically repeating exercise number 4, but going more in depth with all the many different elements that we've also learned from the ecosystem mapping. And the last one is to really sharply describe what is the value of this new product, because more and more companies being forced to say there are many ways of delivering value. It's not just about economic value, it's also about, of course, the value for the user, value in the market, but it's also looking at a social bottom line, and it's looking at a green bottom line. So these are tools that you can always go back to and plunge into. And when you look on the webpage, we have them all ready there, and you can see examples of how to use this. We have nice colleagues giving videos and just explaining this, so it's easier to relate to. And it was kind of a test. We put out the tool out there a year back after having tested it with many companies, and we find that people are really happy to use this. As you see from a participant in the course, that they really found that this is a way of organizing this work. And I have to say, this is really not rocket science. It's not crazy weird tools. It's just a way of organizing your development process and your organization and getting started. And I think importantly, not doing it alone. So what's great about these tools is that you can print them, put them on the table, put them on your wall, and you can start talking to other people about it. So it gets out of that Excel sheet, or it gets out of that, strategy on Word, and it gets to be a joint conversation. And we actually found that companies using this tool are doing that. I had a business, I think she was a marketing lead in the organization. She hung it up within where all colleagues come to have coffee, and there was a supplier coming in looking at it, and he was saying, well, I can help with that. We have a solution to actually reduce distribution time and maybe actually save energy and transportation, because it was out there and it was an open invitation to actually take part in discussions. So that's also an invitation for you. One thing is trying it today, but actually printing it printing it at home and inviting in people for this conversation. I know that some of you are joining from the same company, and some of you are joining from different companies, but I think it's always important to work across sectors in the company if you want to really push this development. Yes, and now we're getting started. let's get to it. We have these three tools that we'll take one by one. And I just want to again get back to like the process. We will be doing a mixed groups, just randomly mixed group, where you'll be working with them in a minute. But before we really dig into it, we want you to meet Amber Furniture, our new friends, virtual friends that we made up for this occasion. And to this purpose, I'll give the word to you, Teresa, and just
I have the honor to introduce to you our fictitious case that we're going to work with today, called Amber Furniture. So it's we've been working with a lot of companies in the Danish Design Center throughout the past years. So it's also put together from different thoughts and experiences that we have with the companies. But it is like a fictitious case that you're going to work with and try to step into their shoes and how they're going to work with circular economy. So about this company, they make very beautiful, simple, and high quality furniture. And they really, they follow the proud traditions of Scandinavian design. You know, we have a lot of like furniture, traditional design in Scandinavia. So they really follow this and they're very proud of this. And they are well known for some design icons they designed, and they mainly produce and design chairs and tables in amber color tones. So amber is this Danish, I don't know if you know it, it's like a...
This is not only Danish, I think it's a Roman.
Yeah, it's not only Danish, but in Denmark we're well known for having a lot of it, which is funny.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, this is an interesting material. It used to be very valuable. Now it's more not so valuable anymore. But they took this these color tones and this atmosphere and made it into their company. And they won a lot of prizes back in the 90s and some in the noughties. And the founder, Henriette Larsen, is her name. She founded the company in 1978, and they're very proud of this relatively long history and the traditions that the founder put into the company 44 years ago. And the company is still family owned today. So yeah, that's and they never compromise on quality nor aesthetics, and they have a very strong mindset towards, like a quality mindset towards everything they do. So a bit more like background information about this company. So their primary customers are hotels and restaurants, so mainly B2B, but also some B2C transactions they also have. They mainly produce the furniture in China and some in Eastern Europe, but it's mainly China and has been for quite a few years. And then in 2020, Amber Furniture sadly got turned down by one of their biggest customers, which is a large hotel chain they normally collaborate with and have been collaborating with for many years. And the reason why they turned them down was that they wanted to promote sustainable furniture. And Amber Furniture is haven't gotten started in working with sustainability at all so far. So so that was a shame, and it gave a little wake-up call, and they thought, okay, we should actually maybe start to look into this. But apart from that, the company has a quite sustainable bottom line business, no significant growth for the past 10 years. It's quite stable. It is like it has been for many years, and they have been liking this stabilization, so to speak. They didn't really spend time digitalizing themselves, and they also like the old school way of doing stuff, sort of. There are around 90 employees with the office located in Aalborg, which is in the north of Denmark, in Jutland. And today it's owned by Anna Toft Larsen. She just turned 50 years and is the daughter of the founder. Sorry, I mixed up the names, I can see it. Whatever. The founder is called Grete. That's very important. And Anna, the current founder, and her husband Michael, they're very active in the local community in Jutland. And they host this annual design market in the city, like for furniture, which people come all around from Scandinavia to visit, which is a huge success every year. There's been very few organizational changes throughout the years, and many employees have been there for many years, and they really have a strong connection to each other. And very few have an age below 40, and they don't have any formal board guiding them or helping them. And then a few interview statements from this company. You see, this is there in the material. And an employee from Amber Furniture said this, that we make beautiful and high quality furniture, and we're proud of this. Though I think we're facing huge challenges and we have to start looking into this. I just have no idea where to start. And this is, of course, where you come in and will help the company. Second statement, another employee saying that some of my colleagues have raised concerns about the future of our business, mainly due to what happened in 2020. I think we should start looking at what we can do differently without compromising on our core values and traditions, as I fear we would lose customers. So they're very concerned about this, like if they change things, will the whole business go down and so on. And then a third employee, a bit more skeptical type. I think we're doing enough to remain resilient by making high quality furniture for our customers. We know people love to buy our furniture and they keep them for many years. We have survived crises before, and I'm sure we can survive the ones to come. So he's a bit more, now it's a he, he's a bit more, it will be fine, and let's do as we've always done, because it's been working for 44 years. So why change things now? But they really should, and they have to, and this is what you're going to help them with today. And I hope this makes sense. And if you have any questions along the way, but it's very much like just, you know, we can all relate to furniture and these like materials we know, and it's that's why we chose this case, because we think it's a good way of working with it. And the first thing, I'm actually going to give the word to Julie now, but we're going to do a little warm-up exercise in Miro, as she mentioned, we're going to use today. So I will stop sharing the screen now, and then Julie can share again.
There we go. Now we're starting to get the hang of it. Okay. So I hope you can all relate to Amber Furniture, and this is just before we get like really started. We're just going to warm up a bit, and just try to use this mirror board and try to put ourselves in Anna Toft Larsen and her colleagues' shoes. Great. So I'm sharing my screen now, and Emilie will be sharing a link to the mirror board, but I'm just going to zoom out. So this is where all the action will be happening. And the great thing about mirror is you can zoom in just forever and ever. So see all the details, and you can zoom out. You could do that in the bottom right corner. And if you have a mouse or a mouse pad, you can just do it with your fingers. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to the questions we're going to relate in. How is what Amber Furniture is doing promising, and how is the company problematic? So promising and problematic. So let me see, just to give you an example. You start by finding one of these boxes. And if it were me, I'd write my name here. I just double click like I would do anything else on the place. And I say, my name is Julie. Zoom out a little bit. And then I take a post-it here. And I've been thinking about that. I think it's really promising that they have a focus on quality. And maybe I can say because sustainable products are, should be, it's really hard for me to write and talk at the same time. Bear with me. So it's promising because they focus on quality, which is important for sustainable products. But maybe I think it's a little bit problematic that, oh, sorry, I didn't say what I was doing. I just copy-paste this. So I copied it and I pasted it. I think it's a bit problematic that there's such that the organization is not used to change, and we are facing a new this new transformation being more sustainable. So I'm a bit nervous about the skills and the mindset of the colleagues. This is my example. So you do the same. You go to the board that the link is in the chat. You write your name, and then you drag the post-it. You can either drag one and just drag it again, or you can copy paste the post-it. We'll be using post-its as a way of working. So this is a basic thing you should know. Double clicking, writing on a post-it, and moving the post-it around. You just click it and drag. Oops, click it and drag. Sorry about that. Great, and just take time. This is not about so much about sustainability. You can also just think about, what do you think is relevant about this company? Either way, there are no right or wrong answers. We're just getting to learn Amber Furniture here. Okay, so am I making sense? Are you guys with me? You guys are with me. Thanks. Okay, so you see the link in the Miro board. You just click on it, and then we'll just have 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much time you need, where you'll write down your thoughts. Okay, guys, you seem to be getting the hang of it. I'll just join you on the board. So you're still working a little bit. If you can see my screen and return to Zoom, you can see all the work here. I just want to pay the attention to, if you forgot about Amber, they're over here. And this is a presentation. So if you click on it, you can actually see the slides again and remember all the facts. This is a nice little feature. So it's all there if you forgot. Great. So I just want to zoom in here and see what you're writing. Problematic material resources, says Stella. Promising understanding the need to change. Promising occurring yearly design market where they can develop circular transition. Yeah, that's interesting. There was actually the potential there for new collaborations through the market. Nice. Promising living their values, family tradition, quality owners, understanding need for change, connection to local community. Yes, problematic, resistant to change at some employees. So you have both people ready for change and people resistant to change. And I think these are all elements, right? That when we look into a circular transformation, we can have all these great ideas about what to put in motion, new projects and new initiatives. But if you don't have employees ready for the transition, it's going to be tricky. So it's a holistic process, right? Oh, you're still working. This is great. You guys agree? Growth is not the driver. Yes, so they can relate to the sustainability as being a driver. That's a good point. Change of the habits of generation. Yes. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one happening. Promising and problematic. This is exciting. Finding new. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm also putting pressures. Yeah, partner. Good point. Okay, so you can all see what everyone wrote here. And that's, now you're getting the hang of getting the hang of Amber Furniture and getting the hang of Miro board. And that's great. And it's nice to see what you've been writing. And have that in mind, because it's nice to have the idea of what are the opportunities for this company when we think about the circular solutions. It has to fit, right? With if it's new products, if it's new strategy, it has to fit with Amber Furniture, just like it has to fit with your organization if you were working with it. So have that in mind as an inspiration when you'll be zooming in on them. So we'll be working over here. I'm zooming out now. We'll be working over here in groups, but we want to, just give you the time to absorb this. So we'll just take a 10-minute break and meet back at 10. So it's time to just get the coffee, refill water, whatever you need. And then we'll meet at 10 and we'll start on the circular strategies wheel, which is a way to move on finally for Amber Furniture. Thanks, guys. Okay, so see you at 10.
I hope you are all back from a coffee break and you're all fueled up. And we are ready to get started with the first exercise from the circular toolkit. And I'm going to do a walkthrough. The first exercise is called the circular strategies wheel, as Julie also mentioned. And we've been using this tool a lot throughout the past few years and tested it in many different contexts and locations. And in general, this strategies wheel is a tool that provides you with an overview of different circular strategies of the circular economy. And it's based on the different product life cycle. I'm going to do a walkthrough of this so you know how to read the model. And the overall purpose is really to create kind of a common language, a mutual understanding of what we mean when we say circular economy. And also to have this like common reference